Those no good, dirty, filthy, rotten Dallas Cowboys stole our best assistant coach, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a dark day for Cardinal fans. 2 years of quality offensive line play. Is it back to the slums for the Redbirds in the trenches? PHNX Cardinals Sad Boys starts now. Hey, welcome in live from Studio K on a Football Friday. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by Circle K, your premier number one Arizona Cardinal podcast. Cardinals offensive line no longer number one to this show. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire. They are in Studio K, and we are mourning a departure here for the Arizona Cardinals with Klayton Adams. We're going to jump right into it. But first, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor today, our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why it's never ordinary with Bet365. Arizona Cardinals, despite 0 winning seasons through 2 seasons with JG, have lost now 2 position coaches to coordinator roles. The most notable one today, Brack, Klayton Adams is, in fact, headed to Dallas as their new offensive coordinator.
That he is, and, congrats to Klayton Adams. It's a well-deserved promotion and title. Won't, of course, take over the play calling duties there. That's going to belong to Brian Schottenheimer, but Klayton Adams going to take, obviously, his expertise as an O-line coach, maybe run game coordinator, and he's going to be there. Run things in a sense for the Cardinals as one of the top coordinator, or for the Cowboys as a top coordinator, and leaves the Cards a little bit late in the game. I wouldn't say scrambling. I think Jonathan Gannon always has a plan. Is never going to panic, but looking for their next offensive line coach. So, but big loss for the Cardinals here. No doubt about it. I mean, we see, they pivoted off of Derek LeBlanc as their defensive line coach. That was, the organization's choice. And then Sam Ciskis, a guy who's assistant as far as linebackers coach, not nearly as pivotal as offensive line. He leaves for the DC job at the Virginia Tech. But Klayton Adams, I don't think you can argue this. I think the Cardinals, as far as position groups go, their offensive line's been the most consistent under the JG era.
I love this. Jacob, O-line is cooked. Arch Manning loading. It's like the people after that was posted today. It's like, cancel the season. We're in January 31st. The offseason hasn't started. Cardinals, not the Detroit Lions literally have no coaches left. It's Dan Campbell with the Will Smith Fresh Prince meme. All alone. Cardinals have lost 2 position coaches, one of which was their best one. And now it's, abandoned ship.
Eliminated.
Yeah, right.
2025 playoffs.
Here's what you got to hope for. And again, we'll give Klayton Adams his flowers. He was phenomenal.
Yes.
We're joking before the show. This is unequivocally the 2 best years of offensive line play that this franchise has had since they moved to Arizona. It's better than 2013, 2014, 2015 with Bruce Arians. It's better. And I think he did less with more. That's the term, right?
Sure.
Than anybody else, right? Like you look back at, Mike Iupati and Jared Valdir and that group, like those were high-end paid players, right? Whereas this guy, he made Paris Johnson Jr. what I thought should have been a Pro Bowler this year. The depth at tackle was tested, never wavered. Yelder Froholt signed as a backup, comes in here, gets an extension, right? Isaiah Adams fills in beautifully. Like all these things, you can attribute that to him. Where if you're a Cardinal fan now is you have to hope for 2 things. I think you have to hope that Jonathan Gannon can continue doing what he's done since he got here, and that's hire really good people. Nick Rallis, we feel like is a future head coach in waiting. Drew Petzing, say what you want about him, got a head coaching interview, right? Is clearly well thought of in inner circles. Hired this offensive line coach, which people love, got an OC job after 2 years. I mean, the Cardinals, they haven't had a top 10 offense in 2 years. He's going to go run an offense, right? That just shows you. I think a lot of people understand this coaching staff has the goods. I think people assume it's a talent problem in Arizona. And speaking of talent, that's my second point, Bo, is like, you have to hope now that you have enough continuity up front where Paris Johnson Jr. solidified, Yelda Froldhold, as I mentioned, second-year bump for Isaiah Adams. Maybe they bring back Beach now. It's like you need to be in a good spot to just pick up the baton and run with it. You're not starting over. The offensive line, fair or not, 2 years ago was a blank canvas, and you were literally starting over. So you're not in that bad of a spot. Somebody just needs to come in and steady the waters respectfully.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think when you look at just what's been going on in Dallas and how this head coaching search has been in disarray, to put it lightly. You've got Brian Schottenheimer, who, after seeing all the big names emerge as potential candidates there, and then they land on Schottenheimer, who's been all over the place as far as an OC. He wasn't even their primary play caller last year. That was Mike McCarthy's job. Like, really have to be talked into it. And even then, I think Cowboys fans are real skeptical about his ability to lead this franchise as its next head coach. And then you see like the DC hire. It's Eberflus, a failed head coach. But of course, you look at his resume and he had some successes as a coordinator. But like, is his failures as a head coach, is it going to linger? Are they going to have the talent there? You just kind of start to see all these questionable moves. And then I think with Klayton Adams, you have somebody that kind of stabilizes things to an extent. I don't think there's any doubt that he's an ascending coach, 41 years old, and you can look at all the metrics and you can find successes under Adams for the Arizona Cardinals 2 years into a rebuild. Like, people are saying like 4 wins, 8 wins, where was the success? But you can point to the offensive line. You can point to the run game. You can look at keeping Kyler Murray upright, and you can try to poke holes into it. But there's enough data there that proves Klayton Adams' group was consistent and successful in his 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when the offseason started. Oh, yeah, like people were almost clamoring, championing for Drew Petzing to get a head coaching job. Just don't lose Klayton Adams. Was there a reality in which, like, if Drew Petzing had gotten the Bears job, like, would he have taken Klayton Adams with him? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I know a lot of people, you're seeing a lot of position coaches being blocked, and there was no way Jonathan Gannon or anybody were going to say, don't take this opportunity. So you've developed now a pipeline where hopefully coaches see that you can have success with this regime under Jonathan Gannon and can get promoted and have success and want to come work here. Now the question becomes, and we'll break it down every which way here on the Football Friday, like, what do they do now? Because to your point, like, this isn't out of complete left field, but we are late in the hiring cycle. Unless your name is the bumble, New Orleans Saints, who have no coach, and you got Diana Rossini talking about Kellen Moore may not take this job. He may settle on it.
Well, it's perfect. Philly set up to scapegoat somebody for when they inevitably lose the game next week. Oh, Kellen Moore not focused on the game.
Take draft picks away from the Saints. Give us Alvin Kamara. No, I'm sure that Jonathan Gannon being very proactive. I had heard a name for the defensive line replacement that hasn't come out yet. So they could very well have their guy hired and already ready to go, or they could opt to go in-house with the assistant offensive line coach, who I think's been there for about 2 years. Jonathan Gannon's mantra typically is, unless they're pivoting off of somebody like they did their D-line coach, he wants to promote from within. And so, I trust them, but we talked about it earlier this week, Bo. This puts more pressure on I think the two individuals that are facing the most pressure right now, and it's Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, look, like they needed any more. Like they needed that to get ratcheted up anymore. So coming off, the 2024 season, Chris Cook is the Cardinals' assistant offensive line coach, and does Klayton Adams take Chris Cook with him as maybe his offensive line coach? Well, I think that's still a possibility, but also could it be an internal option for Adams' successor? But no, that the debate of whether or not, is it too late in the game for the Cardinals to find a new offensive line coach? I don't think that you can really kind of lead too much into. I think Jonathan Gannon proved at this stage in the offseason he was able to build a successful staff, and it's not going to be those proven commodities where everybody's throwing like, the Munchaks of the world and who's the DC Mike Zimmer, like all these names that we're familiar with. He went with his guys, with the relationships that he built throughout, his 15 plus years, close to 20 years in the league. I think he's got somebody in mind. As I asked him at, his end of the year press conference about Drew Petzing potentially leaving on, just thinking about, future successors for all his coaches. He's like, you're thinking about that all the time, just because it's such a big part of the game. And this is just like, you understand the stepping stones as somebody who did it himself, as JG did. So, but to get back to, the question about the pressure on Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray to now have to go without, one of the continuity of their offensive line coach being able to do that, whether he's given a journeyman center and turning him into a starting caliber center like he did with Yellow Froholt, or taking a first round pick and turning him into a guy that plays every snap of his rookie season like Paris Johnson Jr. did, and then turning to the left tackle spot, establishing himself there, or working guys in his day 2 picks into the starting lineup. Like Klayton Adams has been able to do that, and putting in a guy like Kelvin Beachum, who people thought was an afterthought, got him at a starting caliber spot for the Cardinals this year. So like Klayton Adams, I think he met every bit of adversity that he faced, and with success. So I think that becomes a bit tough to replace, and then also do it with the pressure on the team, especially the offensive side of the football, to produce more than it did the previous season.
Good regimes and organizations that have success. This is part of it. Now, again, I made the argument the other day. It's like, can you realistically take coaches from a team that didn't have a winning record? But yes, you absolutely can. And good luck to Klayton Adams. This is the first time. I mean, when was the last coordinator or position coach the Cardinals lost to a promotion? Think back. It has to be like Todd Bowles getting the Jets job. I was trying to think back before the show. 2014, Todd Bowles, top defense in the NFL, was fantastic. Got the Jets job and left. I mean, like, Arians didn't get anybody else promoted after that. Steve Wilkes was one and done. Nobody.
Todd Haley was a long time ago.
Right. That was 2008 after the Super Bowl. Nobody from Cliff staff, respectfully, outside of Vance Joseph, nobody really took seriously. Like now, this cuts deep, man. This is the first time in 11 years that Cardinal fans, 10, 11 years, had to watch a coach that we cherished leave for a promotion. But I see some people asking about, do you get a comp pick for this? My understanding is the only time you get a compensatory pick is if a coordinator leaves for a head coaching job and that person is a person of color, or same thing for like an executive role where that individual becomes a general manager. I think the only they have to be a person of color to be able to get that comp pick.
Yeah. So Cardinals will not be they won't get a compensatory pick next draft, and you have to pick up the pieces. You have to find who's the next guy. We'll see which direction they go. But like, if for casual people out there who are like, well, the record didn't reflect success, it's like, just look at the offense. You have to look at the numbers that Klayton Adams impacted, and it's like they gave up the 5th least amount of sacks in the league last year. They only gave up 30. They gave up the 3rd least amount of pressures in the NFL. I mean, look, there it is. Look, as an offensive line coach.
I don't want to see this.
Look, just be happy it happened. Don't be sad that it's over, right? Allowed 5th least amount of sacks. This is a great graphic, by the way, Damon. Allowed 3rd least pressures, 180. By the way, the average is 213. The average is 213, 180, significantly under the league average. And in the past 2 seasons, as far as running the football, 3rd in rushing yards, only behind Philly and Baltimore, who are juggernaut rushing attacks. and then second in yards per carry. I got people in my mentions on Twitter who's like, well, Kyler Murray, he's a running quarterback. He attributes to a lot of that running success. No, he doesn't. Kyler averaged under 5 carries per game last season. So like he was running at a very efficient clip. I mean, his yards per carry were great, but like to try to say that Klayton Adams and his blocking scheme and all the different counters that they were run wasn't effective. James Conner, for the first time in his career, has now done it back-to-back years under Klayton Adams, has gone over the 1,000-yard mark. So like the narrative, like it's supplemented so much by Kyler Murray is completely false.
I'm trying to like talk myself into the narrative that like with this departure, there's an opening for the Cardinals to evolve and run the football less and have more explosives in the passing game. I just don't know how that's going to come to be because he wasn't a one-trick pony. It was not just the run game.
Yeah.
The Cardinals' pass protection was elite. Kelvin Beachum, off the couch, was one of the best pass protecting tackles in the NFL. Their pass protection schemes are as elite as their run schemes. Now, here's the good news: is their infrastructure of their offense. Drew Petzing is not leaving, right? So you need to find somebody. I know this is going to make people throw up in their mouth a little bit. You need to find somebody who vibes with Drew Petzing this offseason, who can pick up where Klayton Adams left off. Because while Klayton is likely taking a lot of the ideology that came from Drew Petzing, I'm sure Dallas is going to run the exact same offense. Like Drew still has the playbook, folks. Like a lot of the good here is still going to carry over. And where did Drew Petzing come from? Cleveland, where they had a great offensive line and they knew how to maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses for certain players. So, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. If this was a lesser staff, I would be concerned. And by that, I mean, the brain trust of Gannon, like if that wasn't present and he couldn't evaluate talent, like clearly Gannon is not just looking for the status quo. He fired a coach this week, fired somebody. So they're constantly looking for improvements. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know who they're going to hire. We're pressing for that. I haven't gotten a response yet, but like they would be naive to think that, at the end of the day, Bo, that they would not have a couple different options in place. Go get an offensive line coach from the SEC or from the Big Ten. Snipe one of those offensive line coaches and bring them to the NFL. I mean, Klayton Adams once upon a time was committed to go to ASU and be their offensive line coach, to spend time at the collegiate level. The Cardinals offensive line was one of the best units in the NFL that never got recognized because of the talent. But we watched it every Sunday, and it was consistently one of the best things that they did. That's what made the production this year, lack thereof, so maddening. It was like, Kyler Murray's got 7 seconds to throw, and no one touches the running backs until they're 3 or 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's tough. It's a loss today, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What's interesting to me is who follows him. I mentioned the coaching aspect of this. Cardinals have a couple key guys started a lot of games for this team this past year and the last 2 seasons on the offensive line. Evan Brown, Will Hernandez, Kelvin Beachum. Do any of them go to Big D? They follow him there. I know that the Cardinals, like, there's not a whole lot. Like, it seemed James Conner and Budda Baker, those were the priorities to re-sign, and then maybe they felt confident that they could either re-sign these guys in the offseason or find comparable, if not upgrades at the position. But all 3 of those guys were consistent in their own right.
Yeah. I'm sure this isn't the last. I mean, you would assume he's going to bring at least one coach from the Cardinal staff with him.
Yeah.
Brian Schottenheimer, it appears he's calling plays, but like, can Brian Schottenheimer put a staff together? We're going to find out. Like, is he going to rely on now his 2 coordinators to bring on who they want to bring on and empower them? For Klayton, I'm hopeful that in 2 years he's not looking for a job again because of the perception of this Cowboys organization right now. The fact that Klayton Adams does not call plays. He's never going to call plays unless he's the interim head coach or they fire Schottenheimer and they give the DC the interim tag, and then Klayton gets to call plays. Like it's going to be a while, right? Or if Schottenheimer ever relinquishes play calling, it's not all openings are not apples and oranges in the NFL, right? So good luck to Klayton Adams. Cardinals will have to soldier on. We're continuing to break down this story what, if at all, of an impact will this have on how they draft and they sign free agents this offseason? Will they go more so the veteran route for stabilization? That's coming up on PHNX Cardinals. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Cult Cannabis and True Leaf, back in my old stomping grounds in Maricopa. They opened up earlier this month, January 11th. Check out trueleaf.com. You're going to find the premier Cult Cannabis dispensary. It's the exclusive magic marker the Valley's been asking for her, and now she is back. Great flower is hard to find these days. Luckily, our friends at Cult Cannabis have been dropping absolute fire at our PHNX studios and at your local True Leaf. That includes the True Leaf exclusive magic marker strain. Again, the new location, check it out in the Copa on January 11th. I've heard it's been booming, right? The town needs it, frankly. Go to trueleaf.com to find your local shop or place an order, and tell them your friends here at PHNX Cardinals sent you.
Love True Leaf, location just down the street here, downtown Phoenix. Also love locations all over the Valley, all over the United States. Circle K, of course, become an Inner Circle member. You get those Inner Circle rewards. How about deals on drinks, deals on gas? I mean, if you just download this free membership program, you download the app, you start to save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and then 3 cents for every gallon after that. And then you hit different echelons, like some big dogs like myself, Johnny, and Damon. We were at the 5-cent echelon, and you get plenty of member exclusive deals and discounts. What are you waiting for? I mean, there's no downside to this. Become a member of the Inner Circle. There's Circle K's on every corner here in our great state of Arizona, and you're just going to save money. You're not going to lose money ever. Thirst has met its match. Enjoy your member exclusive beverage deal. Inner Circle, they've got any size Polar Pop Frost for 79 cents. Also, they've got meal deals. You can find actually some really good deals on some combos there. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Big thanks to our friends at Circle K. Love being a member of the Inner Circle. Love being a member of this community. Drop a like on this show. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. And, of course, check us out, gophnx.com. Fran Duffy has tremendous recaps from Mobile, his time at the Senior Bowl, which wrapped. And, again, Bo, it just kind of lends itself to, will the Cardinals look at maybe some Senior Bowl prospects to replace the consistency they've had up front on the offensive line, or will they turn their attention to free agency? And I think it is the latter. We had already been tipped off. The Cardinals are prepared to spend big money on a free agent guard this year. Now, then it throws a wrench a little bit at right tackle. We're going to be able to ask Monti Ossenfort in a couple of weeks at the Combine what's happening with Jonah Williams. We don't expect him back, at least not right now. Kelvin Beacham's a free agent. Like, how do you see left guard and now right tackle shaking out? Because again, before this, it's like, can Christian Jones play? Well, I trust Klayton Adams. Now, this development of this unit is a little bit in flux right now.
Yeah, I mean, Adams, as we pointed out, is taking a diverse, set of players and got them all ready to play and play at a really high clip. Chris Cook last year in Mobile, he was on the Senior Bowl coaching staff. So he's working with a lot of the young offensive linemen there. So he's got that under his belt, just kind of helping mold and develop young players. And I'm sure like the evaluation of Isaiah Adams and Christian Jones, came from a guy like Chris Cook, but we'll see what his status is going forward. But it does probably make sense that the Cardinals try to continue to keep the continuity on the offensive line. And look, it's already built in. Like Paris Johnson's locked in. Yellow Froholt got the 2-year extension before, early in the regular season. So he's locked in. And then Isaiah Adams is there as well. And then you've got 2 potential starting spots that you need to fill. Do you have the luxury of drafting and developing, say, a tackle or an interior offensive lineman, or do you just kind of say, hey, we're a little bit behind here, so let's throw some money at this, and then we'll let the rest of our position codes kind of figure out really developing some youngsters in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think Trey Smith, he's atop our free agent wish list. Mekhi Becton, right? Tevin Jenkins. Do they go out and say, like, we don't want to have to worry about 4/5 of our offensive line? Like, I think Isaiah Adams, who, by the way, was one of the oldest, rookies that they had on the roster, I think the oldest last year, in his mid-20s already. Like, Froholt, Isaiah Adams, Paris, you assume those guys are good. You sign a free agent offensive lineman with some experience. I mean, if you want to bring back Evan Brown, so be it. But I think we're looking for a guy with some upside. I think they are as well. I think it really just going to comes down to, like, before this, Bo, if you would have told me they're going to draft a day 2 right tackle, I'd say great. I feel good about their ability for that player to come in and start when ready. I feel good about Klayton Adams' ability to develop that player. Now I'm like, is that player going to be ready year 1? I'm going to go back to the way I used to think about the Cardinals' offensive line and their development scheme. Fair or not, like, they take a second round, tackle. Let's say they take the kid out of Minnesota or something. It's like, okay, is he really going to get the kind of coaching that Klayton Adams would have given him last year? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I watched Jackson Barton come in and not miss a beat. The Cardinals went about 6 deep at tackle this year because of one man, in my opinion. So it's disappointing, not impossible. And again, like, I want to see this team connected to, established guys, coaching ranks to come in and fill this void and get people excited about this offensive line again, because it's got too much good mojo. We can't go backwards.
Here's the thing, though. I think surface level face value, like, they could bring in a guy, and very well, because of just given the position that the guy's going to coach. Like, it's not going to be a household name, like, relative to it. Like, but once you peel back the onion a little bit, I think you'd be like, okay, I get it. I can see it. Like, because it's like JG's not going to just pull anybody off the street. He's not going to be like, oh shoot, can you coach offensive line? Get in here. We need you. Like, I mean, he's got to have, but at the same token, it's just going to, I would imagine it's going to look very similar to when he hired his first staff. It's going to be guys that aren't household names across the league, but JG has a huge amount of conviction and trust in coming in and holding down his spot as one of his key position coaches, because it doesn't get any more important, I think, especially when we're talking about where the Cardinals need to go, where do they need to take a step. It's both sides of the ball, the trenches, and they're looking to fill both those coaching vacancies.
You got to lean on the notion that players win games. And the Cardinals have good players.
I think that also can't, I'm sorry, like, to just pound out your point, but, like, I don't know if it can be like that big of a deterrent, like, for you taking a really good draft prospect.
I just am numb to how this franchise used to operate. And granted, it's still Ossenfort and Petzing and Dave Sears and Gannon, but, like, losing an offensive line coach, we're about to have it tested, like, how important that position coach is, and will it make that big of a difference? But no, listen, the offseason hasn't even started. We're not going to come up here and be sad boys every day. And if you ask Gannon, he would tell you this is why, we put this infrastructure together is to help people, get to where they want to go, get to where they want to be, right? He would have been thrilled if Drew Petzing got the job, but it just, why did Klayton Adams get recognized? Because the Cardinals
would have been thrilled.
What's that? Yeah. Why
would have been elated?
Yeah. Why did Klayton Adams get this job? Because he was good at his job. Because they were able to identify somebody who was really good at his job. Like, don't be surprised if we're having the same conversation about Nick Rallis next year. I think we will be, or at least I think we'll have to be preparing ourselves for Nick Rallis to get a series of interviews, and people are going to be talking about him as, like, Vrabel 2.0. When, like, the Cardinals are about to load up on defensive talent, and then he's going to come out and have a top 10 defense, I feel like, in 2025. You got to be prepared, right? Petzing could be the last man on the island with JG.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
It's great to see somebody come out of nowhere who knows nothing about good offensive line coach. Our guy MP in the chat. What's going on, man? Chicago just they can't protect their quarterback at all. But jumping in and say Cardinals suck as the Bears are poised to take another top 10 draft pick this year. Fantastic.
How many games in a row did they lose again?
10.
Yeah.
10th pick, Johnny?
Man.
10 for 10th pick. I can't wait
Yikes.
for Ryan Poles to draft Ashton Genty, and Ashton Genty attempting to pick up a blitz just gets destroyed. Just gets absolutely destroyed in blitz pickup. And then Caleb Williams is on the field now. I don't root for injuries here, but here's what I will say. The Chicago Bears and their fan base slobbering all over Trey Smith. Guys, get it together here. MP, you can come on the show if Trey Smith signs with the Poverty Bears, but let's not do that right now. The Chicago Bears unequivocally have the worst offensive line in the NFL. You gave up almost 70 sacks this year. Come on now.
Yeah. It's gonna, you pull for a guy like Ben Johnson. The odds are against him. History is against the guy. But look, Cardinals looking to take the next step. Doesn't make it any easier that their top assistant has been poached by the Dallas Cowboys. And I think if you look at this right now, you see the Twitter streets, like universally, Cowboys are being patted on the back for this one after just taking shot after shot after shot for the previous moves to this one. So you do wear that as have a sense of pride with that. And I think Gannon should have that. But at the same time, like there's a lot of work to be done to get this staff, back in working order and continue on the right track as they try to increase their wins for second consecutive season.
Cowboy fans, if you're listening, let me caution you on one thing. Klayton Adams is an awesome offensive line coach, but he can't fix bad play calling. So even if the offensive line is improved, he can't make Brian Schottenheimer better than what he is. And we saw that. How many times did we question play calling with Drew Petzing? Like it's not a magic elixir. It will help exponentially. But there were many Sundays, especially post-bye, when the Cardinals could have had 20 seconds to throw in the pocket. People weren't getting open. Scheme wasn't, refined enough. They leaned too much on the run game. It's all about who's calling the plays and the quarterback throwing the football. So he can only do so much.
I saw this where it was like a couple people were running with this, like, oh, it's the perfect match for Brian Schottenheimer. Klayton Adams is going to help marry Schottenheimer and his passing attack with what Klayton Adams can do in the run game. Is like, well, that's the one thing where I think that the Cardinals as an offense struggle. Like Klayton Adams and his run game were solid, but as far as how it complemented the pass game, and you can look at all the different variables, or you can just say, hey, that's a Petzing thing or it's Kyler thing, whatever. But it never can happen consistently. Like we were always felt like with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. and the way that this offensive line was playing and this run game that was it was going to lead to this passing attack things were going to be open downfield for him. It never happened. Now, it may be different in Dallas, but they've got a lot to work to be done on that offensive line, and Dak coming back from having season-ending surgery. But that's the one thing where I'll be like, hey, you can celebrate this, but that's not necessarily true.
It's not Bill Walsh. It's a good offensive line coach. We're going to get to more of this. Plus, Kyler Murray, did he cost Marvin Harrison Jr. this year? The targets, the analytics right around the corner, plus your super chats. It's PHNX Cardinals live on a Football Friday. This time next week, we're going to be at the Super Bowl. And while the Super Bowl is not here in Phoenix, there's tons of events coming up, including, waste management coming up here. We've got Suns events. And again, if you're looking to take a ride to any of these events, maybe without, a driver bugging you in your ear, how about using our friends at Waymo, Bo? The ride hailing is personally requested vehicles. When you talk about accessibility, this is what you want for spring training. Waste management. It is autonomous for consistency, right? They've got the all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles providing a consistent zero-emission experience for our riders. And again, if you're asking me, like, how often does this happen? How often do they allow these? How often are they going to be available? 150,000 trips per week from San Fran, Los Angeles, and of course, now in Phoenix. Waymo was the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human being in the wheel. They've been doing it for 10 years, since 2015. They've got 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. This is the future, folks. Embrace it. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. I can't wait to try it. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to get such a kick out of it when I do it because it's the only way I'm going to want to ride anymore. Respectfully, I don't want to hear somebody blabbering on. I want to enjoy my friends at Waymo. Download the Waymo One app today and ride, baby, ride.
Love it. Download, request, ride. Our friends at Waymo absolutely love it. Maybe my old catchphrase when I do get inducted into the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame one day. You're gonna be, hey, there's Waymo guy. Desert Financial Credit Union. Also, you just link your Waymo account to your Desert Financial Credit Union. You won't have any issues there. You're protected with our friends over at DFCU. They are, of course, official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals. They've been in the Valley of the Sun for over 84 years. Largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating and creating exceptional experiences, giving back to the community and providing financial solutions to make lives better, make your life better. Right now, you can get Desert Financial checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Check in right now. And if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking because they can help you show your support. Represent the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinals Visa debit card. Johnny's got one. He's going to be showing it while he's buying us drinks in New Orleans next week. Show your team spirit. Free open up a free checking account online and get an Arizona Cardinals Visa debit card. Go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started.
It's funny you heard the thing about Johnny buying drinks because I also heard that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's true. He's always he's
so such a generous guy. Yeah, he's a sweet guy.
Yep.
That's
you're being sarcastic and disingenuous, but I am incredibly generous and humble. I constantly am just throwing down that bad.
You are.
Yeah, I got this. And what's really, really discouraging is I believe I bought some of the appetizers we had last year at Sam Elmo Steakhouse at the Combine, the same apps that have been held against me for almost 365 days this year.
No, the apps were never held against you. Not eating your steak was held against you. Steak so large you had the meat sweats. Thank God you had our friends over at Mando to help hide those meat sweats or hide a long night out on Bourbon Street. Of course, look, you need to be smelling good. Men's deodorant brand, hyper focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Every aspect. We're not just talking about pits. We're not just talking about, this and that. We're not going to hide from it. It's actually
butt cracks. Say butt cracks.
Yeah. Butt cracks, grundles, that space. I'm not going to give you any more on that, but grundles. Look, their scents geared towards men's in options like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fiji, Pro Sport. Who doesn't want to smell like any of those things? Very important. You got to love this. Mando. If you're on the go and you don't have time to get a proper shower, you're going to want to check out shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com, and tell them your friends over at PHNX Cardinal sent you.
Hey, Mando, $5 off. We paused the button here on Klayton Adams, and we looked to another portion of the Cardinals offense. So Liam Cohen, who is freaking people out in Jacksonville. Do we still have that?
What up, dude?
just a nice normal guy. He's trying to ingratiate himself with the Jaguar fan base, and he came out today and went on local radio. I think it was 1010 XL 92.5 FM and said, you can sleep good at night knowing that you got Brian Thomas Jr. 10 targets, right? And again, like Brian Thomas Jr., the best rookie wide receiver this year, he's earned it. But he also, his best games last year were the games he got consistent volume. Mm-hmm. You can make an argument. I had people chirping at me on the Twitter streets. You know what? But the Jags were terrible, and I get that. They didn't have a lot to play for. But he was keeping them in games at times. And so then you think about Drew Petzing and this offense that never, it doesn't matter who we talk to, Baldy, Solomon Wilcox has been on the show. Mm-hmm. Everybody just assumes they didn't prioritize Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay. I think we can all agree on that. They just tried to fit him into what they did. So then you have this additional piece to the puzzle. And this, I apologize, comes off a little anti-Kyler Murray does the tweet, but I think it does the job. Let's pull it up now, Damon. This is from PPR Fantasy Tips. This is just cut and dry fantasy breakdowns, percentages, analytics. Only 58% of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s targets were reportedly catchable last season. Again, 58% of his targets is just 67 targets. He had 62 receptions and 5 drops. meaning he dropped 7% of his catchable targets. He caught 93% of his catchable targets. Kyler Murray needs to improve according to this guy here on Twitter. And again, like, I don't want to pit people against each other. Here's what I do know. Marvin Harrison Jr. was not given the ball enough last year. We can all agree on that. Kyler Murray, whether he was coached to do so, was not consistent enough throwing downfield. And when you see Liam Cohen come out and say these kind of things, it's like, that's what I want to hear from Drew Petzing. It's like, Marv's a big-time player for us. We have to get him the football. They were, and I pulled these stats again on Twitter, Bo. They were some of the worst explosive passing, metrics in the entire NFL. I think they were 29th in passing plays of 40-plus yards or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we talked to Michael Wilson. Yeah, he outlined and hit on some similar stats. And, I think everybody involved in the passing attack wants to change that next season and are disappointed with how they performed, especially, down the stretch. Wilson even said, like, Kyler would tell you that. I think Marv was frustrated throughout his rookie season. And, this number or this tweet, especially the end of it, saying like Kyler Murray has to be better, and then to pit it, the onus all on Kyler Murray, I think is unfair by whoever it is. PFF Fantasy, what is it? Is that who it was?
PPR.
Like Liam Cohen is in pander mode. Like, he understands how he's just being raked across the coals and made fun of as the butt of every joke in the NFL right now, and is trying to. And obviously, as Tampa Bay, that entire fan base and organization furious with him. And he's trying to make himself likable because that's what he needs for himself. And he understands that they've got a hot receiver in Brian Thomas, and then saying 10 targets a game, that's going to make everybody happy. And he pretty much did that with Mike Evans. When Mike Evans was healthy last year in 14 games, had 110 targets, and was just around 8 targets per game. That's a lot of targets. And what Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to have going forward is anywhere from 8 to 10 targets per game. Like, I completely agree with that. But I look to Drew Petzing for that. I think Drew Petzing needs to emphasize that. And when I see these numbers where, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 58%, catchability on his 60-some targets, or he only had 62 catchable balls on targets, like Mina Kimes was pointing this out, they weren't putting Marvin Harrison Jr. in high percentage successful situations. Like, Kyler Murray was throwing 50-50 balls. That's why they're called that. So, like, to point at the quarterback and say, hey, this is a 50-50 play in its own right, but your accuracy needs to be like next level, I think that's a bit unfair.
Like, how many times we heard the term like it's an easy pitch and catch for the receiver and the quarterback? That never felt. Marv always felt like he had like a guy on top of him until they started discovering that he was an elite, crossing route runner, and that no DB could run with him at the end of the year. I think he led the NFL in crossing route production.
Yeah.
Solomon Wilcox and Baldinger came on the show, and Mina Kimes, and said they have saddled him with, what was the term? It was almost like the sacrificial number one X receiver role.
Yeah.
And, you make the argument, well, I thought he was supposed to be able to handle that as a rookie, and we were wrong if that's how it was supposed to be. But the minute you're Drew Petzing, you see that that's not working, and you're a quarter of the season in, or you're 6 weeks in, you need to pivot. And I think one of the most disheartening aspects of this season was the way it felt. It teed up for you to pivot after the Miami game, or certainly after the bye. You were playing with house money. You were 6-4, even with Marvin being up and down. Yeah. And then the production got worse after that. I would have put my mortgage, my 401k on the line that after the bye, Marvin was going to go off, right? That, okay, after what we saw in Miami, he had a touchdown against the Jets. He cooked Sauce Gardner. Like, okay, second half, here we go. And it became less of a focal point. The passing game looked worse after the bye. So I just, to me, it's a evolution, right? You lose your offensive line coach. Your quarterback's in a make or break season. Your wide receiver is in a boom year, a second year boom, and your play caller is too conventional. We mix it all up, and it's like, if I'm Jonathan Gannon, you sit in a film room and figure this out, because we have seen it. The Cardinals have had a dominant run game for 2 years. What has it gotten them, Bo? It's gotten them 12 wins in 2 years. There's a ceiling with that. Like
And
the Eagles are the outlier, in my opinion.
about 22 points per game, right? And you need more than that, unless you're going to be a top 5 defense.
But there's still a ceiling with that too. Like you're not winning anything with 22 points a game.
That was my point. I just think like what we saw once things weren't high stakes, like post Carolina loss and the team was eliminated, the emphasis was getting that passing attack going. And because, obviously limited on the follicles, we didn't say he let his hair down as far as Petzing, but he maybe unbuttoned a couple of his shirt buttons and was loosening it up. And we saw with that Marvin Harrison Jr. have some pretty solid performances to end the season. Like 2 games, he averaged, I think, just over 8.5 targets per game. And I just said that that's where it needs to be. And you saw some production there. I know you're going against a bad Niners team. You're not going to get that, the most of the 2025 season. But, getting back to the conversation we had to start the show with Klayton Adams leaving, just like the second half against Carolina, just like the second half against Miami, where they did it successfully, you're not going to have the ability or the luxury to lean on your run game potentially. So you've got to find a way and live in a world where you can lean on your pass game when you need it. You have the personnel and you should have the playbook in order to do so. And I think that that's just, it's got to take the next step in year 3 under Drew Petzing.
Really good comments here in the chat. Aries saying, I think teams figured us out by the bye. Clearly, Seattle wasn't intimidated with what the Cardinals were doing. Brian saying James Conner getting hurt was great for the passing game. I mean, you take away Drew Petzing's binky, and it's like, oh, I guess I got to throw. I got Michael Carter in the backfield. And then Jacob echoing what we all feel like.
It wasn't great in the second half against Carolina.
No, it was not. It was atrocious. After Cooper Rush threw for 3 or 4 touchdowns. Jacob saying we should be scoring 24 points a game minimum with our offense. I agree with all those things. And not that I'm rooting for James Conner to get hurt, but look at a team in the Cardinals' own conference that overachieved this year and look at the formula that they had. The Minnesota Vikings, did they run the football all that well? They were fine, right? They were solid. I would imagine they're probably like middle of the pack running the football. Aaron Jones was kind of up and down, but what they have? They had a big explosive passing game, right? That allowed them to stay in games, chunk yards, make up deficits. And then defensively, they got takeaways. They had turnovers. I mean, they flamed out at the end of the year and Sam Darnold, grew back into a pumpkin. But for the most, they won 13 games. How'd they do that? It wasn't running the football. It was big explosives in the passing game and taking the football away. That's what a ceiling looks like when you have Sam Darnold. That's the recipe. The recipe is not conservative. Defense is going to be 15th. They're going to overachieve. Offense is going to run the football 40 times a game, even if they're losing by, 3 touchdowns to Washington or Green Bay. So I would rather see an offense, yes, that still puts a priority and an emphasis on pass protection and running the football, but that can make up deficits. The game isn't over when you're down double digits. And too many times it felt like that.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have to evolve, because if they don't and they run this back next year, we're going to be talking about replacing Drew Petzing much earlier in the season. Jonathan Gannon's going to be on the hot seat, and I don't want that for our boy. They have plateaued. So if you're going to lose your offensive line coach, now maybe you just need to reformat everything you're doing offensively. Maybe you need to take a little bit of a sledgehammer, because I watch this team, and the more I look at that game against the 49ers, zombie Niners at the end of the year, take out that game. How many great offensive performances do they have post-bye?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's counting. I'm not counting that game. I think that there was the ability.
A interesting game.
And the Niners were the worst defense in the division. It was a departure from where they've been, the last couple of years, especially as a defense. But no, I mean, I disagree with the sledgehammer idea, though. I think that it's tweaks. It's tweaks, because I think that what Marvin Harrison Jr. showed you, in spite of what's considered it fell short of expectations, but still 60 plus catches, nearly 900 yards, 8 touchdowns. think that's a good starting point. It wasn't what people wanted, and what the Cardinals needed. But if you get Marvin Harrison Jr., really going in 2025, and he builds off of this, and you couple him with Trey McBride as your 1B, then you have a passing attack. You have the makings of a really solid passing attack, and then you fill in the gaps. And, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s numbers are going to look good. They're going to go, upwards, not from, under 1,000 to probably upwards 1,200. Trey McBride should stay where he is. And then Kyler Murray is going to eclipse 4,000 yards passing.
Cardinals averaged 19 points per game post-bye if you subtract the Niner game in which they scored 47 points against the Niners C squad. And again, I would argue those numbers were juiced up a little bit by 30 points against the Patriots and the Panthers. I mean, when the Cardinals
look, we can't just start cherry picking that much. Son.
Well, I'm gonna. All right. I am gonna cherry pick.
That's
no. I am gonna cherry pick here
if
for
you
an
take this out. If you take that out
for an offense. Hang on a second.
Yeah,
for an offense that was supposed to be the strength of the team,
right?
In the second half of the season, in 4 pivotal games, Rams, Seahawks twice, and the Vikings game. All those teams went to the playoffs or had a winning record. The Cardinals averaged just under 14 points in those games.
Wow.
That's trash.
Look,
that is trash.
Else to the NFL. And
just as I suspected, Bo, trash.
Look, as I look at the number one scoring offense in the league, the Lions, if they played the Cardinals where they only scored 20 and the Bucks where they scored 16, man, they had a bad season offensively if you take out all those other performances.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish, brother. And I watched the Cardinals. They could barely score touchdowns in the second half. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. We got your super chats plus more. We got 700 people watching on a Football Friday. Appreciate you all. Drop a like. We're back right after this. I'll tell you what's not trash. It's the opposite of trash. It's a treasure trove. It's our friends at Bet365. I have no football to bet on this weekend. I'm a sad boy. So I'm going to have to turn my attention to the hardwood. They've got NBA early payouts with our friends at Bet365. They've got it on Tuesday. So coming up on Tuesday, you're going to be able to use that basketball early payout with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. Download the app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Deposit Bo. Just a 10 spot, okay? Place $5, you get $150 in bonus bets. New customers right now. Load up, baby. Check out those props for the Super Bowl. You could spend all day on Bet365. In fact, I do. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in the great state of Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov for more info.
Love the Bet365. Love our friends over at Sanderson Ford. So much so, got to go check them out this weekend. I'm in the market for an upgrade at truck, and they've, of course, got those beautiful Ford F-150s up there. Calling my name. I'm going to go talk to my guy, Ron, and his great sales staff that thrive on the no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. Take the whole family out and check out, of course, the new Expedition. Great SUV. Hit the trails, make your own with the new Broncos Badlands. You can save up to $11,000 on styles like the Expedition. Sanderson Ford has 28 of those Badlands as well to choose from. Check out the new Edge for only $35,995. For the best deals in 2025, our friends over at Sanderson Ford have them for you. Get more for your trade-in with an easy on-the-spot financing. Drive into the new year, 2025, in a new ride from Sanderson Ford, Arizona's most awarded Ford dealership. We love them. Check them out, sandersonford.com. That's right, 5 big booms for Sanderson Ford.
Love our friends at Sanderson Ford. And if you're looking for more fun with us here at PHNX, become a diehard. I mentioned it, Fran Duffy. If Fran Duffy's the Sanderson Ford of the NFL draft game.
Sanderson Ford.
Okay. Check out his prospect breakdowns right now. Captain Jack Sawyer, among others, such a big fan. Mike Green, who's his pro comp. Walter Noland. What should the Cardinals do? I think there's a brand new article at gophnx.com. May or may not be talking about why the Arizona Cardinals need to target one Mike Green. Fran Duffy posted it just 4 hours ago. It is a diehard level article, but man, oh man, is it worth it. Become a diehard, pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year, Bo.
Can I give a little teaser? Because he's got his all Senior Bowl team in that article.
Okay.
He's got his standouts and who the Cardinals should consider. But just a little taster, some players that we talked about in depth on this very show. Little Gray Zabel, little guard from North Dakota State. Is that something you're interested in? Maybe as the offensive line coach exits? I would love a Gray Zabel on this offensive line. But did you see our friend Benjamin Albright tweet about Mike Green? Are you concerned?
Yeah, there's an off the field concern with Mike Green, which I can tell you right now definitively would make him a non-starter for the Cardinals. Cardinals don't mess with if it's significant enough. I don't know what it is, but the Cardinals don't mess with anything like that. This is not the chimera when you've got Robert Condici jumping out of windows at Ole Miss. Like the Cardinals don't mess with that at all. Chandler Jones walking into a police station completely nude. Like Gannon, for fair or not, Ossenfort, they don't want to mess with anything. So let's hope for Mike Green's case, it's minor for him and everybody involved. But we would be just wildly, outrageously speculating right now.
Yeah. When I sent that to Johnny, who's this week has been #1 Mike Green fan, he's like, knew along should be out on Mike Green. I saw this one coming from a mile away.
I'm only a Mike Green fan and have been the biggest one if everything's good on and off the field, of course. On the field, it looks great. Off the field, we'll have to wait and see. And you got to make sure you're not getting a phone call, midnight in the off season, right? In the thick of the off season. That's
love our guy Walt. We're a big Walt guy. This podcast is in for Walt.
Walter Nolan at Pick 16 is currently the trend for your boys here. Drop a like on this video. Damon, you have anything to add to that?
Just thought Walt was good. We already got a nickname for him. Love it. It's a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm. What else is a match? Our streaming partners. If you're watching with one of our many phenomenal streaming partners, jump on over to gophnx.com. We got some super chats here. Plus, we're going to give you the lay of the land, what the next 7 days are going to look like for this fine program. And man, we got some big guests. So we're talking it all up right now here at the end of a football Friday. Drop a like on this video. And then, of course, go to gophnx.com. 653 watching live. Let's jump into your super chats here. Michael Evans echoing our point from earlier, $2. Nick Rallis, defensive coordinator, will be gone after next year. I agree with you. I think Nick Rallis gets a head job after this year. I think he's already shown like he's on the Klayton Adams path. He overachieved this year. Now he's going to get some talent, and he's really going to kick ass and take names. So, I mean, people want people from this coaching staff. People aren't rating these other coaching staffs consistently. The Cardinals, they've lost multiple coaches, and they haven't had a winning record yet. That just shows you people, they understand it's a talent issue, not a coaching issue.
And I think we just cracked the case why Monti Ossenfort hasn't got Nick Rallis any talented players the last 2 years. It's like, because he knows once he gives them talent, that guy's gone for a head coaching gig. He's like, we got it. There's a ceiling, a very low ceiling that we have to hit of the caliber of player we can get in here, or Nick is gone, as good as gone. So I'm glad we were able to close that case. It was a tricky one. Little twist and turn at the end there, but we were able to figure it out. Monti Ossenfort, we're on to you.
Get him good talent once you realize the offense is in a place that's championship caliber.
Might as well sabotage your own team. Tony, go ahead, Bo.
Our guy Tony, $4.99. A little nickname for Johnny now. Good to see the Meat King, Johnny, and Bros this Friday. So do we get a comp pick for the hire? We do not. Johnny established that it's only minority coaches that will get you when they get on for promotions to other teams or executives. Do you get a compensatory pick?
Tony in that avatar hanging out with the newest inductee in the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame, Michael Bidwell. How about that? Big time.
Yeah. Still just like, I'm going to remember this. It's core memory when Michael Bidwell get the call.
It was actually on public access. No one saw it. MP 199. Y'all have buyer's remorse for Kyler yet? What are we buying? We drafted him And he's had success, and they extended him, and we're in the midst of his contract right now.
Yeah.
Who would you prefer the Cardinals take instead of Kyler Murray? Who's available for the Cardinals to get, MP? That's a question we have all the time on the show.
He after his first year, he was the offensive rookie of the year. What was Caleb Williams after his first year?
Scrub dirt. I've been sacked 69 times.
Nearly dead. Nearly not living after being sacked.
What about Jaden Daniels, the quarterback the Bears passed on? Oh, the greatest rookie quarterback of all time. Ooh, sorry about that. Whoops. Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes. Whoops. Come on now.
Yeah, you have remorse that you passed on JD? Any buyer's remorse there?
Oh, who the Cardinals pass on a quarterback? Oh, Danny Dimes, who should be in the XFL. No, thanks. MP, we love you, my guy. How about this? Another sincere friend of the program, our guy Charlie Sinclair, who Chargers made the postseason this year despite
Isn't
a
that
loss.
such a name that your mom tells you about, like when you're keeping up with? She's like, "Did you hear about Charlie Sinclair?"
Yeah, he was expelled from boarding school this week. 499. This may sound like a troll. Oh God, and it definitely is, but it's not. My Cardinals prediction is Jonathan Gannon brings Brandon Staley on the staff. They're documented best friends. If Bo was my best friend and he had the reputation of Brandon Staley, I would never do that. I would never bring him on this show. I don't think Gannon, how do I put this? I don't think they want anybody that can undermine Nick Rollison. I think that the presence of Brandon Staley would do that.
I think Jonathan Gannon is so hyper-focused on what's going to make his team successful and win football games that he's not going to let personal relationships interfere with that.
Yeah. He and I are very close, but he wouldn't put me on his staff.
No. Well, none of that is true. I mean, the only thing that's true is he wouldn't put you on the staff. That's correct. But you guys are not close. And I just know now that I said that as soon as it came out of my mouth when we're at the scouting combine and he comes to the podium, he's probably going to give you a very welcome, "Hey, Johnny," just like last year.
He and I are closer because he sees you all the time. And it's like, what's special about that? And then he sees me at training camp and then like a handful of times throughout the season, and then in the off season. So it's like
last time JG mentioned you, it wasn't in the best light. He actually said you.
That's guys riffing each other. That's guys having fun. It's not all patty cake. We're riffing. Hey,
he's like, "No, I don't eat Halloween candy. I'm not stuffing my face like Johnny." That's what he said.
We can make an argument that after that comment, the season imploded. So might have to bring that up. We're gonna need a cross-reference when he said that. Did it coincide with the Cardinals' second half?
So that was after the Dolphins game.
Yeah, it was right around the Bears game. So yeah, I mean, it started to take a turn.
He was riding high. No, he was about to go beat the holy hell out of the Jets.
We didn't have it any better than that. Getting called out for my gorging of Halloween candy and just smacking around the Jets high school staff. Brian, $5. If Robert Saleh gets a head coaching job again, do the 49ers get another comp pick, or is it like one-time pick person situation? I think they get another one. I don't think it's just because then they get credit, Brian, fair or not now, because they rehired him and he's a minority coach. And then he would then have success again. So, yeah, it's not fair. I don't think Robert Saleh is ever getting a head coaching job again, though.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, he's going to get credit for turning around a bad defense.
Damon, you know, everything I say today, Bo is just immediately like, no, that's actually not true. And let me tell you why.
With you. He was just off mic.
Did you pick that up?
Yeah, it was off mic. He was like, "That's stupid."
I agree with you. I mean, I think that generally there's kind of been a buildup of sorts, a little bit of animosity. We needed that, though, going into some of these trips in the offseason, because that makes it just that much more special. But yes, I do agree with Bo in this case. I think Robert Saleh will get another head coaching gig.
I think it's just hard for defensive coaches who have had no success, respectfully, that he never went to the playoffs. Like, that's really hard. Like Vance Joseph, is he going to get another head job? And then not just because they're both minority coaches. I'm just saying defensive coaches in general usually get one shot. And if it doesn't work out, then that's hard. The offensive guys are the guys that get recycled all the time.
Dennis Allen got a second shot being a head coach.
Yeah,
I mean, it was an utter disaster.
The
but
coattails of Sean Payton, but yeah,
I mean, look, Salah's got enough connections. I mean, he was in the running for the Jacksonville job. I don't know how like legit that was, or if they were just trying to check a box. That would be unfortunate if they used him like that. But
the only thing that I would give
Salah's respect, and like people can you can easily like, oh, he was with the Jets. Like, look at Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, defensive coach, was with
that's true.
the Jets, and
maybe
like,
it's a Jets thing.
Yeah, the rest of the league was like, oh no, like he was not set up for success because the Jets suck.
One of the worst, I think, occurrences was that Bruce Arians' departure and Todd Bowles' availability didn't coincide in the same offseason, because I think Todd Bowles would have, I don't know if he would have succeeded with Keim, but it would have been a good chance he would have been the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
You know what I heard today? You bring up BA, a wound that still has not healed. Somebody was trying to call out Peter Schrager today for a bad take on Mahomes. This was like pre-draft. And he said, you know, Mahomes, I think he's a first round quarterback. And I know Arizona likes him at 13. And it only this was before Mahomes, the Chiefs traded up to take him in that draft. But it's just like, man, you imagine, like, BA probably doesn't retire after the 2017 season. Like, it would have been the perfect young quarterback for BA. And I'm not saying that just in hindsight, just based on what Bruce Arians like to do as far as offensively.
Would Keim have ruined Mahomes?
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I trust that completely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can trust that they were in on Mahomes.
Yeah, and Bruce loves to tell that story now. Every time he goes on, right? Like, we were going to trade up for him. I think it's a big reason why a lot of us had animosity against Haason Reddick. He was out of position. He was a bust early. And so it was just a bad situation all around. Then they compounded their mistake next year by going up and getting Rosen.
There was in Schrager, the only reason I saw it is because he clapped back at the guy. Is like, I didn't have any bad takes on Mahomes. Like, but there were some bad pre-draft takes on Patrick Mahomes. Like, I remember locally somebody like Nathan Peterman.
I was just about to bring up that story. There's a podcast here locally. I was mowing my lawn. I was in central Illinois, and I was listening to it. And there's a local individual who came out and said, I don't want anything to do with Mahomes. I would rather get a Nathan Peterman type in the second round. I know who it is. It's embedded into my brain. And again, everybody has a bad take now and again. That has to be the worst take in the history of pro football. The guy who may very well be the greatest quarterback of all time to maybe the worst professional quarterback we've ever seen. It's not Jarecki, Brian, but you're in the kind of the ballpark.
Here's the thing, like, and I see people saying like Mahomes probably would have busted here, and I know he wouldn't have the rock solid infrastructure that he had in Kansas City, but he would have had like the luxury. Like, I know Carson Palmer broke his arm right in 2017, so he probably would have been thrust in too early, but he wouldn't have started just like he did in KC as QB1. He would have been behind Carson Palmer.
Man. I don't want to think about that. So much pain, so much hurt. I've been hurt. 2018.
Do you think they would at least had like one Super Bowl?
No.
Nah?
Is Chris Jones coming? Patrick Mahomes, hey, you get to play with Robert Kimdichie and Michael Floyd. He's got some personal problems. He's out of here, and Fitz is 100 years old.
Let's say, like, in 2018, instead of having to go to Rosen, you like take the best player available. I mean, so
Bo, look at me. Look at me. Steve Keim was over in the first round. We can't do that with. He would have taken a good player. He wouldn't have. Just like he didn't take Patrick Mahomes. It's Keim. It's Steve Keim. Stop looking at it. Stop it. Stop it. This is not fun. We already lost our offensive line coach. I don't want to be in this much pain.
You know who he would have taken? Who went in the first round that year? Our good friend Billy Price.
Oh, no. He would have loved Billy. He would have been like, Billy, Pat, I got this center from Ohio State. You're going to love him. You're going to love. Oh, I don't think he grades out that well. I just love his. We were in the film.
Come on, Ohio State. We've been
really
ignoring that program.
Stevie Boy and we just really vibed in the film room. Mahomes just gets murdered week 1 by Billy Price. Oh,
yeah, there's
Mahomes goes to his local McDonald's here in the Valley. Hey, Billy, I didn't know you got a new job.
As we said, probably franchise owner after getting that first round check.
If Billy Price saw either of us in public, he would murder us with his bare hands.
Yeah, just one swift hammer down punch.
All right,
both.
Let's talk about next week. Programming note for your boys. Bo, Damon, what is on the docket for this little fanboy podcast that could?
You know what? We've got already a couple interviews set up early next week. Damon and I are going to make our way Sunday, so we're going to be live Monday. We might call upon Johnny for his services, but we're expecting big things early on. We've already booked big Cardinals guests for later in the week when Johnny gets into town. Should we reveal who it is? Should we?
All right. I'll preface this by saying this has been confirmed.
Yeah.
And if it falls through, that's, that's sports media.
We'll just put it in the Discord. How about that?
Oh, I like that. Yeah. We'll put it in the member Discord, diehards only, Cardinals interview, hopefully multiple interviews, but this one's confirmed for next Thursday.
Excited for you guys to find out who that is, but the coverage begins Monday. But yeah, you get in the Discord, to find out who it is, or what are you waiting for? Because we're going to be giving you behind the scenes content all week at Radio Row, even starting Sunday when we start to make our travels there to NOLA. Can't wait to do it. And then of course you got, Bourbon Street. It's legendary. If you want any of the sights and sounds from that, that's going to be in the Discord. Damon, you've never been to the Big Easy, right?
No, I haven't. I'm excited. Me and Shane are going to get Johnny drunk.
Yeah. I'm there to work. I'm there to do a job. I'm there to perform.
Work hard, play harder, brother.
700 people in this chat. I am there for them. I'm not there for you and your agenda. This is where we put our big girl and boy pants on and we get to work. We roll up our sleeves and we grind out content like nobody else can.
That's part of content. We'll probably shy away from steak houses during the week, but
why even say that?
We're going to get some of the local cuisine and all the fixins. We'll get some po' boys. We're going to get it all.
Fixins. I am not on the show Tuesday, TBD on Monday. These guys are holding it down. But then we will be en route for NOLA, and I will be back on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we're going to have some fun. And this podcast, this is once upon a time, and you can check out the footage now. 2 years ago, Bo and I made our Super Bowl debut here in Phoenix. Patrick Peterson came on our show and doubled down on his take on Kyler Murray. We had Pat McAfee on the show, James Conner, Zach Ertz. It was a banner week. And then last year, we ran it back with our guy. It was the first time, really, we got to connect with our guy, Michael Wilson. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping to hang out with Mina Kimes, all the friends that you know and love here on PHNX Cardinals, hopefully in person next week.
Can't wait for it. Look, Klayton Adams is now the OC for the Dallas Cowboys. Not expecting any breaking news. If we do have insight as far as who the next offensive line coach can be, you can find it, of course, on our Twitter accounts at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brack, at Damon Dawg, and at PHNX_cards on Twitter and Instagram. Have a great rest of your weekend. We get after it starting Sunday here on PHNX Cards.
We all silly like the mayor.